Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm here. It's backwards day, so for a change, I've got the host of Thinking Critical, Wes, with me for a change, and we're here to talk about the comic industry, but specifically the current situation that's going on for comic publishers, retailers amidst this coronavirus pandemic. Wes, thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been trying to get on your show on your channel for weeks now. You finally made a little bit of time for me. I appreciate it.
Well, I wish it was under different circumstances, but we talk about a lot of topics all over the place, and you can't avoid this one. And so I want to say on the outset, more than other videos, because we're going to talk a little bit about what retailers can do, the spot they're in, how fans can help. But also, if you're a creator, a creator, you can tag in, share this video around, because we're going to do a call to action to some people to help out this industry in a time where it's going to face some struggles that are actually real for a change, as opposed to a lot of the doom and gloom that's normally said. But Wes, what's your take? How are you feeling about the comic industry right now, and what are you worried about?
We don't know what to expect right now. It's crazy. We've never really seen anything quite like this where it's not a recession. It's not, maybe an international conflict. It's not a one moment crisis. It feels like a pandemic, or at least a hysteria regarding a pandemic, is taking grips on societies all over the world. Businesses are being told you can't be open. People are being told don't go anywhere. And a lot of these retailers, not the really big ones, but a lot of the smaller retailers, they're much closer to paycheck as far as their money goes than I think a lot of us realize. And we could see a lot of shops shut down if measures aren't taken, by the industry themselves to protect the retailers and help them out in this very huge moment of need.
No, I can't agree more. And I want to reinforce the point that a lot of shops, they're not living with big stockpiles of cash. They live month to month. And in many cases, because the comic industry is tough, shops try to augment their business by offering things other than comics. Well, many of those things tended to be tabletop games and community-based events in their shop. That's how they've been filling the gap. And unfortunately, those events are over. If you happen to live in a community where you haven't had a non-essential store shut down by order of the state, it's probably coming to you. And I don't say this as a fear thing. Here I am in Washington State, and comic shops have to close here, and that's where it is in most states, and it certainly will be there in general. So my point here is that shops, even their backup plans are in jeopardy now. So we have to figure out some ways to help them. So Wes actually pointed me out why we're doing this video. There's an ICV2 article by Paul Levitz talking about suggestions for comic publishers. Now, what caught your eye about this, Wes?
Well, Paul Levitz used to be the publisher for DC Comics. He has a long-standing interest in the industry. He has a lot of experience with different jobs in the industry, and he had a lot of good suggestions as far as ways that retailers and publishers could help out and maybe help each other and make sure some of these shops are going to be able to survive this.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good reputation in the business. Certainly has a lot of industry experience, and he gives a couple suggestions. And first off the bat, it's one that I think would help out all over the place, and not regardless of this situation. But it's the offer that publishers make all comics, graphic novels currently in store or on order for the next 60 to 90 days fully returnable.
Well, I think this is essential. Comic shops have bought stocks of comics that they're not going to be able to sell, and it's not because they over-ordered, they under-ordered. It's because there's a crisis right now, and the customers aren't able to get there, or they're probably too scared to go out and get their comics. We have to protect the retailers who invested in in the industry, and it's no fault of their own, and we need to spread the risk. It shouldn't just be with the retailers on this one. We all need to eat a little bit of it, including the publishers.
No, I agree. I mean, the reality is there's the shops that have box customers, pull box customer subscribers. That's now become the solid part of their business. So the health of retail shops is really going to hinge upon basically those people. The extra copies ordered for the shelf are going to be aged by a month, so anywhere from 60 to 90 days now, based on this current situation with shops being closed. So making those returnable would basically, it is what the shops need. Now, keep in mind, it's not giving any shop a surplus or a bonus check. They're still going to have to pay for rent that of people who don't come into their store. There's a lot of aspects to their business that still suffer, but at least it takes that extra cost away. And particularly in a world where there's incentive ordering and other things going on for variant covers, I mean, shops were ordering extra stock to get the variant covers for pull box customers. Making things 60, 90 days returnable is honestly, it's the least that the big publishers could do.
It's a good start, but it's definitely not everything that needs to be done.
Yeah. Then his suggestions go into things that shops can do themselves. It's an excellent time to offer additional discounts on already ordered product or extend credit terms. Yes, well, sorry, that is something definitely the publishers can do that Diamond can help facilitate with. It's tricky. I mean, and with small shops, it's still a very small amount of money, but it can still, any little bit will help. And then the next one, these two kind of go together. Retailers coming up with interesting solutions, curbside service, off-hour service to help people come and just kind of drive through comics, if you will. What do you think about that? Do you think that's viable, Wes?
Absolutely. I'm seeing it all over on social media. A lot of small retailers are offering curbside service. They're offering local delivery, with a certain threshold of ordering, even with free delivery being included. I saw one that's offering worldwide delivery only at cost with no additional fees onto it. And on that one, I want to give a shout out to Joshua Williamson. He's the writer on Flash over at DC Comics. He's had a really long run on there. He has gone above and beyond. He basically sent out a tweet and said, hey, if your store is offering curbside service or local delivery, please let me know, and I will retweet this to all of my followers so that they know there's a comic shop near them where they can get their comics curbside or delivered. And I really think that was a great move on his part, and I hope other creators join in the effort and try to get the word out and support and encourage these comic shops to do what they can to reach their customers.
No, absolutely. Williamson's doing an amazing thing there. We're seeing a couple other creators step. I mean, Rosenberg has done a lot to actually notify some of the stores about dates and other things that they should watch out for to make where they could be careful of their orders and other things. There's people out there, but Williamson's doing an amazing job. This is the kind of community support we do need. So, and this is ways creators, we mentioned at the beginning, that you can help get some of that information out, help remind people that these shops can still, in fact, in many cases, I bet a lot of comic book readers would be thrilled to not have to get out of their car at all to get their comic books in a general way. So no swipes intended, but it is a service that we're seeing in the restaurant industry to help stay alive. It's definitely something that comics books retailers should do, and that's what you should do if you're a retailer right now. You mentioned the shipping. He does too, offering a UPS ship service. Here's another case where a publisher or of somebody like Diamond can offer a subsidy, if you will, for shipping to basically help cover the cost or at least split the cost. Keep comics flowing out into the world. That's what's needed. The other thing is, backstock bonuses. People have lots of time to read. So what if you created some runs that people could read in a nice package? You and I have talked about this before, Wes. I've talked a lot about it on my channel. The idea that the comic shop does have to evolve into more of a service offering where they start to kind of curate titles and make runs and do things where it becomes more of an experience. And I think now is maybe a chance where things can change and comic shops can get a little bit more predictive about what people buy.
Absolutely. I've been to, when I go to a local comic shop, I will start looking at comics. I'm like, oh, I remember this story. I wanted to read it. If there's a break in there, I won't pick the comics up. It's like, I don't know when I'm going to find this when I want to read the entire story. So that, I think putting stories together and offering them out there, complete stories is a great idea. People are going to have a ton of time to read, a ton of time to get into their read piles that they've been waiting to get in on and adding to it. And I think anything that you can do to keep people reading their comics and investing in the store and wanting to come back for more, it's just icing on the top and it's good customer service.
No, absolutely. I think you have to make those events. And the last point he makes is kind of along the same lines. It's remote events. So to all the shops that move to tabletop gaming and dial in, having conversations in the shop, what you see right now with the growth of comic book YouTube channels, like both of ours and others, is that people, there's a hungry need to connect with other people. And if you look at the live shows and the chats that go on and the super chats and all the rest, people do like to be in group settings. So fortunately, the technology and the way to do that is relatively cheap. He mentioned Zoom. Zoom is used by a bunch of schools right now to do remote learning. It's a very easy piece of software. He makes a comment in an article about it's technical stunting above my pay grade. It's really not. Zoom is 2 or 3 clicks. It's the easiest software you're going to use. There's free accounts, and even moving up to a paid account where you can do, big webinars, you can record meetings and everything else. It works very well. So if you're a comic shop, consider opening up the Zoom channel. You can open it up and just leave it running all the time. Customers can come talk to you, ask you questions, do things. If you're trapped at home, it's a great way to connect and have group chats and do games and other things. People are doing it right now, and keeping people engaged is critical.
Yeah, besides that, obviously there is YouTube. I've seen Alterna Comics are doing a virtual Comic-Con with a bunch of their creators. Peter Cimenti is always on the forefront of new ideas. I think what he's doing is great. Also on YouTube, I know Aaron Lepresti was doing Aaron Con, which is basically him, doing commissions for a couple hours a day, taking questions and telling dad jokes, which I think is a great way to connect with comic book readers and let them know that you're not forgotten. You're there in our hearts, and we're definitely here for you. And I believe they even did an Emerald City Comic-Con, like virtual con on I believe it was Twitch. And Xenoscope, I know, is pushing that one really hard. And I applaud all those people, getting out there. I know more people are doing it, and everyone's finding new ways. Facebook Live is available as well. Actually, I think that's where Aaron Lepresti was doing it. But there are a lot of options for people to connect with their comic readers, their customers on a live basis, and provide just a couple of hours or a couple of minutes of entertainment. It's just, everyone appreciates it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great efforts. A lot of people are getting creative, and it is the time to connect. And honestly, the time was 2 or 3 years ago. This current virus situation is pushing people to these moments, and that's great that that's happening. Not great that this is why, but we need ways to connect people. I've done videos recently about the importance of community. It's not something to laugh at. It's actually critical for this industry to continue to be healthy and grow. The reality is, comics right now are set set behind. They should have had a better digital story. They should have had a better connection story a long time ago, and it just has not occurred here in the West. The fact that the comic industry in Japan is so healthy in terms of digital and the content that can come out, the collections and everything else, because they've invested in these technologies, because the technology is everywhere. We don't have that ability here. So right now, the comic industry in the US is heavily dependent on local shops, like we've been talking about. And, it's not AT&T closing DC or Disney closing Marvel or any of the rest of that stuff that's put our comic industry in jeopardy. It's the output. The retailer shops are now forced closed in a lot of cases. That's what's going to really kill our industry if we're not careful. So we can certainly recover this. These are some great ideas that were in this article that we've been talking about here. It can survive and we can grow it, but it is going to take being a little bit more creative. It is going to take coming together more. It's going to take putting aside a lot of those petty grievances. I'm not saying forgive complete a-holes, but it does mean that some of the smaller things that irritated us, maybe some of the ego that have built up, needs to go on the shelf for a period of time where we all help each other out.
Absolutely. And I know there's the running joke going on Twitter and everywhere on social media that, social distancing, comic readers have been doing that for 25 years. It's a funny joke, but in very many ways it's true. But, you can't give up on your local comic shop. Listen, if you have a medical condition or you're just scared and you can't make it to your comic shop, that is completely understandable. If you don't feel comfortable using curbside service, then don't use it. But you can call your comic shop, see if they're offering free delivery, see if they're offering any delivery option. If you can support them, please continue to support them. If you can't, call them up, encourage them, let them know that you wish that you could, and try and engage in some of these options that are being out there, and try to be a positive voice in the community. And we should all be coming together over this. This shouldn't be something that divides us further. This should be a moment that brings us all together and makes us realize we're all here for one reason. We all love comic books. We can all do our part. And, in the end, do I think every shop is going to survive this? Absolutely not. But we should do everything in our power to make sure that as many shops can survive as possible.
That's well said. I agree. It is up to us, all of us, whether you're a creator, you're a publisher, you're an editor, you're somebody in distribution, you're a comic shop retailer, you're a fan, you're a reader, whatever. Comic shops, whatever you think of them, whatever slights one or two might have had at some point in the past, it is an important part of the lifeblood of our industry. And we do have to evolve. We do have to keep changing. It's what you and I talk about week in, week out, of how the comic industry needs to shift and evolve and continue to grow. But everything said here is certainly out of love of this hobby. It's love of this community and everything that it can do. And the time to act is now. So like I said at the beginning, if you are a creator, you're a publisher, you're whoever, or you're a fan listening to this, tag a creator, tag somebody, get the word out, because there's suggestions in here for everyone. I'm not making any money off this. Don't hit the subscribe button, or this is no self-serving piece. This is purely for the comic industry in general. There is stuff all of us can do. If you're a simple reader, like Wes said, pick up the phone and just call your shop. Find out what your options are. They will more than likely, 99 times out of 100, be willing to help you and get those comics to you in any way possible. They need the money, and it's a critical time for all of us. So let's come together and help. Wes, thank you very much for joining me today. We have to do this more often.
Absolutely. I love coming over on your channel. You're on my channel quite often, and I love doing these collaborations. I definitely want to be back on Comics by Perch as soon as possible.
All right, we'll do it for sure. Hey, thanks everybody for listening, and take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you soon.